I am 100% confident that Trump is going to be the president. I will take bets on it right now, except I won't because that's illegal and I would never do that. I'm pretty sure that Hillary is going to win on the Democrat side of things, and Trump is actually going to annihilate her. Trump can't win. Hillary will no, I don't think so. I think Trump will annihilate Hillary. The way that he pointed out how Hillary has been in Congress for so long, or not in Congress, but the way Hillary's been involved with things for so long and hasn't changed anything. The way that he pointed to, just the way that he phrased him being able to get people in a room and to put together deals and whatnot, like the general mood in America has been kind of anti-establishment, and you're literally it's going to be Trump versus Goldman Sachs, right? With a meme, as ironic as it is, actually, and I'm saying this like being fully realistic, I actually do think Bernie would probably have a better chance in the general, just because he has he's got two big Bernie has two huge things going on. One is that he comes off as that anti-establishment person, and two, he's not Hillary. I honestly feel like there are more people that would vote for a socialist than would vote for a Clinton. I feel that way. I think that there are a lot of people that support Bernie that, given the opportunity to vote between Hillary and Trump, would vote for Trump just because Trump and Bernie share similarities on that anti-establishment, like a lot of similarities, which is clearly the entire tone of this nomination race is establishment versus anti-establishment. He will still get wrecked by Hollywood and media because of the racism and gay marriage stuff. I don't think so. I don't think those issues matter right now. The only thing that matters to the American people right now is the fact that they're mad as hell at government and they want an outsider. Those are really the only things that matter. And I think that Trump's kind of nomination process has proven that. Because Trump has made, if Trump was ever going to get nailed to the wall on anything, it would have happened by now. And it hasn't. It hasn't, and it's not going to. There's no possible way. When you're part of the Republican Party and you slam a World War II or a Vietnam War hero,
he hit me. He's not a war hero.
He's a war hero.
He's a war hero.
5.5 years.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured. Okay, I hate to tell you.
Do you agree with that?
and you get away with it scot-free, like he walked off of that untouched. There's no way that they're going to nail him to the wall with anything. I don't think that people care about that anymore. I think that it's just a matter of we're fucking mad at government, fuck the government. Going alongside that, running parallel to that, I think that there might actually be a lot of unrest in America in terms of people that hate Muslims and people that hate Mexicans and black people. And I think that a lot of that is boiling to the surface as well, because now you have another candidate where if you hated minorities, Trump works really, really, really well. And I know some troubles in chat are going to be mad about that, but if you hate Mexicans and you hate black people, Trump is like a really strong candidate where you could feel really good voting for him. I do feel that there are a decent number of people who have those feelings in America. It makes Trump a really strong candidate as well. So he channels you have the anti-establishment, which is just a huge general trend in the United States. And then you have a lot of people that are legitimately racist, which there are a fair number of as well. I feel like Trump channels so many, those two like things with the anti-establishment thing being so huge. There's no way that Hillary can stop him in the general election. I don't believe it. You also have Cruz, which is anti-establishment. If Cruz dropped out, they would go to Trump. I really don't. It's really funny, but I feel like Cruz looks like everybody in the Republican Party looks establishment compared to Trump. Does it scare you that Trump will win? I mean, I don't know. It just reaffirms that people are really fucking stupid. I don't know. It's a big argument in favor of things like why the Electoral College was originally founded and whatnot as well, but Cruz isn't liked in the Senate at all. He's a known outsider in Senate. He markets on being anti-establishment. Yeah, I understand the words that you can read on paper or the ad campaign that you can listen to from Cruz, but you have to contextualize everything that's happened in the course of seeking the nomination in the Republican Party. I mean, like, I understand that on paper Cruz is anti-establishment, but I understand that maybe you feel Cruz is anti-establishment and you might even seem anti-establishment. But the problem is, compared to Trump, everybody seems establishment. Do you understand that? That in the context of the Republican race, Cruz looks establishment compared to Trump. I understand that he's not really, right? And if it was just Cruz and Rubio, Cruz would be the anti-establishment candidate. But with Trump still in, it doesn't look that way. It looks like everyone is establishment, and Trump is the only anti. That's how it appears. Yeah, I don't know. No, I do know. That's how it appears. Do you think Trump is actually going to get anything done in the White House if he becomes president? I don't know. At this point, who the fuck knows? I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, I still really, really, really don't like him. He's still one of the most embarrassing points in American history. You've got the believes that autism is caused by vaccines, believes that global warming was a myth by China, says that he's going to sue reporters that write bad things about him. He's just absurd. But if you would give a percent chance that Trump would be president, what would it be? A percentage chance? I would say probably 90%. Destiny, Trump had a meltdown in the last debate. He won't handle the CBS and other official general election debates. He will be torn apart by Hillary, who is a much better speaker. But that's just the thing. I don't think Hillary is a better speaker. When you think about, well, what does it mean? This is like a really interesting question, okay? This election has actually been just so interesting. What does it mean to be a better speaker? Who is the best speaker of all the candidates right now? In my opinion, there were two people. One was clearly the best speaker of all the candidates. And then there was a pretty clear second place, in my opinion, in terms of speakers. The best speaker of all the candidates right now that have come up this year and last year, very, very easily is Ted Cruz. In terms of just ability to deliver a powerful speech, even during debates off the top of his head, Ted Cruz is easily the best speaker, hands down.
At the end of the day, the legal issue is quite straightforward, but I would note that the birther theories that Donald has been relying on, some of the more extreme ones insist that you must not only be born on U.S. soil, but have two parents born on U.S. soil. Under that theory, not only would I be disqualified, Marco Rubio would be disqualified, Bobby Jindal would be disqualified, and interestingly enough, Donald J. Trump would be disqualified. Because Donald's mother was born in Scotland, she was naturalized. Now, Donald...
But I was born here.
On the issue of citizenship, Donald.
Big difference.
On the issue of citizenship, Donald, I'm not going to use your mother's birth against you.
Okay, good. Because it wouldn't work.
You're an American, as is everybody else on this stage, and I would suggest we focus on who's best prepared to be commander-in-chief, because that's the most important question facing the country.
And second to that, I feel like Rubio is a very, very strong speaker as well. Yeah, I know there was the meme debate with Chris Christie, but for the most part, Rubio sounds really, really good when he speaks as well. But the problem is, what does it mean to be a good speaker, right? I mean, speaking eloquently with good diction, with good word choice, none of that actually matters. And it really doesn't. Objectively, it doesn't. Because what does it actually mean to be a good speaker, right? Those are ways that we try to measure the effectiveness of a speaker, right? Is their vocabulary, their diction, their cadence, But in reality, what makes you a good speaker is being able to convey a message to an audience or evoke an emotional response of an audience. And that's something that Trump can do for whatever reason, because of the way that he speaks, better than any other candidate. Even though Cruz, on paper, right, if you were to hand in two separate speeches to a teacher and one was a Cruz speech, you would get like an A+. You're like, oh fuck, this speech is really well written, good job. If you would give him a Trump speech, she'd be like, this is a fucking disaster. You're not even speaking complete sentences. But in terms of evoking emotion out of an audience, Trump can do it with his simpler sentences, with his simple words. There's a very easy to follow points. The fact that he hammers home the same points over and over and over again. Make America great again. We lose to everything. Like the fact that Trump is able to do that. I mean, like he's been so far, it seems like the most successful speaker, even if he's not speaking on the highest educational level. I don't like it when people repeat the same point over and over again. I mean, I guess it's popular. I mean, because I would criticize Bernie for it. That whole, the 90% of the wealth has gone to the top 1%. Okay, we've heard that before. But I guess, I don't know. I mean, Trump says the same shit over and over again and it works for him. But people would prefer somebody that speaks, to put it negatively, in a much more dumbed down way, right? To put it positively, somebody that just speaks with... I don't know if you would call it elegance, simplicity. Brevity would be a polite way of describing how Trump speaks, with brevity and power, with powerful words, very short and concise, almost curt statements. I don't think the average voter actually looks into the policies. They just want to agree with the words people say on the screen. Yeah, I agree. Trump speaks very plainly. I wouldn't describe it as eloquent in any way. Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah. That's why I said, but elegant, I think, is a good way to describe his speaking, right? Do you think? Pleasantly graceful and stylish in appearance or manner, and then pleasingly ingenious and simple. An elegant solution is a solution that tends to be very simple and concise, right? Yeah, I'm sorry, we're spending a lot of time on this. It's not. I wouldn't classify how Trump speaks as elegant. He's not making artfully constructed sentences. He's just saying shit very simply. But that's the thing. Trump doesn't just say stuff simply. He speaks powerful points simply with very few powerful, short, concise words, right? And I say that, and I believe that there is some degree of elegance in the way that he speaks. I think you're forgetting the fact that black people and Hispanics will vote for Hillary overwhelmingly over Trump. Is that actually true? I'm not sure. I really don't feel like Hillary can beat Trump in a general election. Are there poll numbers for this? This is favoring Clinton by 3 points. I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens.
I know words. I have the best words.
Do you think Trump is selling himself like a businessman, that he's not as dumb as he makes himself out to be? It's hard to say, but the problem is the implication. Like, if somebody acts like a total fucking idiot and a total buffoon and is able to acquire a large sum of votes that way, the implication is then that the audience is fucking stupid, right? Which is a sad implication, which I think at this point has been pretty much proven to be true.
It's really been great. I want to congratulate Ted on the winning of Texas. He worked hard on it, and I know how hard he worked, actually. And so I congratulate Ted Cruz on that win. That was an excellent win.
This here, giving credit to Ted Cruz, makes him sound really, really good. This giving credit to Ted Cruz here makes him sound really good. And it makes it that much harder for people to attack him now, right? Because now it sounds like Trump is being like super gentlemanly, really presidential, really diplomatic. And then in Cruz's speech, Cruz just kind of went off on him, right? It doesn't sound as good.
We're going to make America great again, folks. We're going to make it great again. And, I watched Hillary's speech, and she's talking about wages have been poor, and everything's doing badly, but we're going to make it. She's been there for so long. I mean, if she hasn't straightened it out by now, she's not going to straighten it out in the next 4 years. It's just going to become worse and worse. She wants to make America whole again, and I'm trying to figure out what is that all about. Make America great again is going to be much better than making America whole again. So I just want to say
that was really, really cringy in Hillary's speech when she was like, we're gonna make America whole again.
We have to make America whole. We have to fill in.
Oh God, that was so cringy that she said that. I don't know what the fuck she was thinking. She needs to fire whoever wrote that speech for her.
This was an exciting evening. It's so great to be in Florida. It's so great to be at Mar-a-Lago with friends and the press and the media and everybody. I know it was a very tough night for Marco Rubio. He had a tough night, but he worked hard. He spent a lot of money. He is a lightweight, as I've said many times before. But you know what? We're going to go to Florida. We're going to spend so much time in Florida. We've got about a 20-point lead. I know that a lot of groups, a lot of the special interests, and a lot of the lobbyists and the people that want to have their little senator do exactly as they want, they're going to put $20 or $25 million into it over the next 2 weeks from what just came over the wires. And frankly, I think that's fine. As far as I'm concerned, it's fine. And if he wins, they'll have total control. But he's not going anywhere anyway. But we'll see what happens. But we're going to spend a lot of time in Florida. The Virginia win was just a great win because it's a place that is just spectacular and a place that we have big investments in, as we have in Florida. Remember, we have thousands of employees in Florida, all along Miami, Doral and Mar-a-Lago and so many other places. And it's been an amazing place to invest. It's been amazing to have so many wonderful employees, some of whom are here tonight, really urging us on. And, I have thousands of employees all over the country, actually all over the world. But for purposes of tonight, we'll just say all over the country. And it's been just so beautiful to watch this company grow and to watch it grow so strongly. Recent articles came out talking about how great a company we built. And now we want to put that same ability into doing something for our nation. I mean, our nation is in serious trouble. We're being killed on trade, absolutely destroyed. China is just taking advantage of us. I have nothing against China. I have great respect for China, but their leaders are too smart for our leaders. Our leaders don't have a clue. And the trade deficits at $400 billion and $500 billion are too much. No country can sustain that kind of trade deficit. It won't be that way for long. We have the greatest business leaders in the world on my team already. And believe me, we're going to redo those trade deals, and it's going to be a thing of beauty. You look at countries like Mexico, where they're killing us on the border, absolutely destroying us on the border. They're destroying us in terms of economic development. Companies like Carrier Air Conditioner just moving into Mexico, Ford moving into Mexico, Nabisco closing up shop in Chicago and moving into Mexico. We have to stop it, folks. I know how to stop it. We're going to create jobs. We're going to create jobs like you've never seen. We're going to lower taxes. I have a plan that Larry Kudlow and so many others think is the best plan they've seen. We're going to lower taxes substantially for the middle class. The middle class has been forgotten in our country. It really helped and really probably was the predominant factor in making our country into a country that we all love so much and we're all so proud of. But we've forgotten the middle class, and we're going to lower taxes. We're lowering taxes on business. You look at all the companies that are moving out. When you see Pfizer moving to Ireland, and you see so many other companies constantly, now they're leaving. They used to move from New York to Florida, or they'd move from New Jersey to someplace else, Chris. But now they're moving from here, but not that many people are leaving New Jersey. But Chris understands the problem, fully understands. Now they're leaving from places that they used to move to into other parts of the world. We can't let that happen. Well, we've lost our manufacturing jobs. We've lost our manufacturing. Millions and millions of jobs. Thousands and thousands and thousands of plants, manufacturing plants, warehouses. I mean, we are losing so much. We can't let it happen. I tell the story often about a friend of mine who is in the excavation business, and he always orders Caterpillar. And recently he ordered Komatsu tractors from Japan because they've cut the yen, they've devalued the yen to such an extent that it was virtually impossible for Caterpillar to compete. And I don't want that to happen. That's not going to happen. They shouldn't be allowed to do it. We have tremendous power over everybody because we are really the source. We have great, great power. The problem is we have politicians that truly, truly, truly don't know what they're doing. So we're going to work very, very hard. I'm so honored by this evening. If you would have told me on June 16th, when I was with my wife, Melania, and we came down the escalator in Trump Tower, and it looked literally, well, a little bit like this. You have a lot of cameras here tonight. It looked literally like the Academy Awards. I never saw so many cameras in my life. And it takes courage to run. I'll tell you what, it takes a lot of courage to run for president. I've never done this before. I've been a job producer. I've done a lot of things, but this is something I've never done. But I felt we had to do it. When you look at the incompetence of the Iran deal, where we give $150 billion, we get absolutely nothing. When you look at all of the problems our country...
I like this part of the speech because it sets him up. One, obviously, it reinforces the fact that he's an outsider, and it reinforces the fact that he's a good salesman, right? I've never ran for president before. I've never done this before, but I felt we had to do it as an outsider. You know, I've never done this before. I'm winning now. Like, I feel like this is a really good point of the speech, too.
...has, and you look at our military, which is really being depleted, rapidly depleted. We're going to make our military bigger and better and stronger than ever before, and nobody's going to mess with us, folks. Nobody. So it's just an amazing honor to have you with me tonight. And if you want press, I think we told you before it would be okay if you want to ask a few questions. Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Trump, you said that your campaign is focused on uniting,
Yeah.
not dividing. Your
Right.
prediction would suggest you're dividing not just the country.
This guy's asking, I don't know if you can hear on stream, he's asking, some people have suggested that your campaign is focused on dividing instead of uniting, pretty much.
Well, they can always do that, and then they'll just lose everything, and that would be the work of a loser. But let me just explain something. If you've seen what's happened, whether you go to South Carolina, where I had a huge victory, where we had a tremendous victory in New Hampshire, tremendous in Nevada, You look at what's happened, and tonight, of course, is the best of all. I mean, right now they're projected, I guess, 6, but it could be 7, 8, 9, and major states. It's Georgia, Alabama, Massachusetts, Tennessee, Virginia. And, you know, these are amazing states, so we're going to probably get a lot more. In fact, we're projected to have some pretty good addition.
I think he needs to work on not barking at reporters every time they say, yeah, but he doesn't. In this interview, he doesn't at all bark at the reporters. He doesn't. He stays for a decent amount of time, what, like 20 minutes or whatever, answering questions. I don't think he barks at any reporter here. All of the answers are very cordial.
No numbers. But I will say this, look, we have expanded the Republican Party. When you look at what's happened in South Carolina and you see the kind of numbers that we got in terms of extra people coming in, they came from the Democratic Party or the Democrat Party, and they're Democrats and they're longtime Democrats, and they were never going to switch, and they all switched, and they were independents. And we've actually expanded the party. Look at the number of votes we had in that area as an example. 4 years ago, they had 390,000 or so votes. We've doubled.
Oh my God, this is such a good point. The CNN guys didn't talk about this. This is such a good point. The Republican Party has been having severe problems over the past 8 years. Not even. Oh, well, yeah, ever since Bush, really. And even with Bush, the Republican Party has been having some severe problems, okay? And that the party is diminishing in size, right? We've seen younger people are more likely to be liberal-leaning than conservative-leaning. So you've got younger people are flooding into the Democrat Party way more so than the Conservative Party, the Republican Party. And then you have the fact that the Republican Party itself is fracturing, right? Severely. You've got traditional conservative Republicans, you've got the establishment Republicans, and now you've got the Tea Party, right? Or have had the Tea Party breaking away too. So you've got this fracturing of the Republican Party that's going on. And here, Trump is bringing up a really, really good point. And this is an amazing counterpoint because a lot of people in the Republican Party now are saying, Trump, you're dividing the party, you're destroying the party, and if you do this in the party, we're going to leave, right? And Trump has already answered a little bit. Well, if that guy, you know, tries to kick me out of the party or whatever, it would be catastrophic to the Republican Party, which is true. And now he's bringing up the point that he is actually building up the Republican Party, right? So now he's selling you on the idea that he's good, not just for America or not just for president or not because he's Trump. Now he's selling you the idea that he's good for the Republican Party. And for the first time in a long time, he's actually increasing voter turnout on the Republican side. And he's pointing out that the Democrats, even Bernie, right, aren't doing the same thing. To be fair, I mean, first black president ever, Obama, you're probably not going to stick up to that. But Trump is bringing up a really good point here in that he's defending himself as somebody that's growing the Republican Party and uniting the Republican Party more so than anyone else who ever has, which, again, is a really powerful point because looking at it in context, the Republican Party has only been shrinking for the past decade.
When you look at what's happened in South Carolina and you see the kind of numbers that we got in terms of extra people coming in, they came from the Democratic Party or the Democrat Party, and they're Democrats and they're longtime Democrats, and they were never going to switch, and they all switched, and they were independents. And we've actually expanded the party. Look at the number of votes we had in that area as an example. 4 years ago, they had 390,000 or so votes. We doubled it. We were almost 800,000. Whereas the Democrats went down. There's much less enthusiasm for the Democrats. So, look, I'm a unifier. I know people are going to find that a little bit hard to believe, but believe me, I am a unifier. Once we get all of this finished, I'm going to go after one person. That's Hillary Clinton, on the assumption she's allowed to run, which is a big assumption. I don't know that she's going to be allowed to run. And I think that's frankly going to be an easy race. You see the polls. I beat Hillary in many polls. I know one thing. I don't think Marco's going to be able to beat her. I don't think, in all fairness, I think Ted's going to have a very hard time. But Ted at least has a shot because at least he's won a little bit. So I just tell you this. We are going to be a much finer party, we're going to be a unified party. I mean, to be honest with you. And we are going to be a much bigger party, and you can see that happening. We're going to be a much bigger party. Our party is expanding, and all you have to do is take a look at the primary states where I've won, and just look where we've gone from X number to a much larger number. That hasn't happened to the Republican Party in many, many decades. So I think we're going to be more inclusive. I think we're going to be more unified. And I think we're going to be a much bigger party, and I think we're going to win in November. Okay.
And again, this is important because now he's selling himself for the general election, right? The idea that he wants to bring all of the Republicans in line behind him, and the fact that there are, in my opinion, there are a lot of Democrats that will never vote for Hillary. If I guess I'm a registered Democrat now, I would never, I don't know, against Trump. It would be really, really, really difficult for me to vote for Hillary, even with Trump. And I know there are a lot of Bernie supporters that would just are never voting for Hillary, and I don't blame them, right? And I've said it before on my stream. Remember a couple of years ago, I made a huge issue about being financed by Wall Street, that would turn me into a single issue voter. But now, this speech was so fucking good. This speech, after listening to this, like, convinced me that Trump is going to be the president. Like, I really, really think he will be. Yeah, this is just too much. This is way too much.
Yeah.
So this reporter is bringing up the point. So a lot of people have kind of theory crafted this in the background. However, even if it was true, Trump could never admit it. So part of the salesman tactics that Trump talks about in his book is you never open with what you want. You never open like a negotiation with what you want. You always have to open with something more extreme so that you give the person that you're negotiating with the idea that they've pulled you back into a negotiated position that you didn't originally want, right? That makes it feel like you both got something out of it. So the idea here is Trump says he's going to build a wall. Trump says he's going to build a wall. Well, in reality, Trump doesn't actually want to build a wall, but that's the first offer. That's the first offer that Trump is going to make. And then from there, Mexico will say like, oh, well, we don't want you to build the wall. We're going to do this, 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 this. And that building a wall is just a means of the first offer, rather than Trump saying, I want to reduce the flow of illegal immigration to the United States, and I want Mexico to take illegal immigration into the U.S. more seriously. Instead of opening with that, that would be his second offer. And instead of opening with that, it would be, we're going to build a fucking wall and you're going to pay for it. Mexico would be like, whoa, no. How about we do this? And Trump would be like, okay, fine, then we'll negotiate it down to that, right? Some people have had the idea that that's why Trump's positions on some things are so fucking extreme. Have you read his book? I haven't, but at this point, it's probably going to be the next book that I read, just because, I mean, if you write a book called The Art of the Deal, and you use those salesman tactics to become the president, the most powerful person in the world, that's a pretty fucking good point. It's a pretty strong selling point. But that's what this reporter is asking. However, if you are negotiating that way, you can't tell somebody that. You can't just be like, yo, here's my first offer, but it's not real, right? So even if this was true, Trump will never admit that, right?
I'm just doing what's right. Look, Planned Parenthood has done very good work for millions of women. And I'll say it, and I know a lot of the so-called conservatives, they say that's really, because I'm a conservative, but I'm a common sense conservative. But millions of women have been helped by Planned.
That I'm a common sense conservative is something that appeals, I think, to younger people as well, who might be leaning a little bit left, and you really can't look at the Republican Party because of their hard stance on some things. Like
Parenthood. But we're not going to allow and we're not going to fund as long as you have the abortion going on at Planned Parenthood. And we understand that. And I've said it loud and clear. And we'll see what happens. But Planned Parenthood, millions of people, and I've had thousands of letters from women that have been helped. And this wasn't a setup. This was people writing letters. I'm going to be really good for women. I'm going to be good for women's health issues. It's very important to me. Very important to me. And maybe that's not a perfect...
Destiny, that's really, really disheartening, though, knowing that ridiculous proposal worked. The fact that someone could seem so crazy as to put out the idea of war and be taken seriously, then still lead in popularity is just, yeah, no. I mean, the negotiating tactic is real. Somebody brought it up earlier that it was a Carnegie point or whatever. Is it Dale Carnegie? I read this book. I should read this book again. I read this book when I was really, really young, and it actually had a pretty big impact on how I interact with other people, or at least when I was younger. This is a really, really, really good book. I feel like this should be required reading in grade school or high school. If you haven't read this, or if you're looking for something to pick up for a social anything interaction, this is a very, 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 very good book. Or at least when I read it at the time, I felt like it was a really good book. And even though this isn't The Art of the Deal, I feel like there are tactics in here that has to do with kind of like how sales are made. Like basically what this book does is it tells you how people are motivated and how best to play off the motivations of those people, right? Conversations are more about the other person than they are about you, and it's about understanding that. This is a really, really, really good book. I don't know if it's still recommended or not. I don't even know who the fuck recommended it to me when I was a kid, but I really, really, really recommend reading this book. There's so many interesting things. I remember in this book there was I don't know, I'm pretty sure we talked about this book on stream before. I remember that in this book, okay, I really can't say this because I don't even fucking read. So I really shouldn't give book recommendations. But of the few things that I have read, I mean, I read a lot. I was in a lot of AP English classes, so I guess I read a decent amount. One of the things that this guy talks about, I remember there was a story. I don't know how many of these stories are real or just examples. Was this a Henry Ford story? Some guy was having an issue with his plant, and he was trying to get or like a car manufacturing plant, right? He was trying to get people to make cars faster, and the production was just lagging, and it kind of sucked. And he had meetings and he had talks to people, and he wasn't able to get anything done. And then he decided to go at things from the competition aspect to try to get the people competing with each other. So what he did one night is, after a plant had produced so many cars, it was like 8 or 9 or something, he got a giant fucking piece of chalk and he wrote like the number 8 on the floor. And then the next day, when the people came in and they saw it, it was very clear. The factory had managed to accomplish. I think they constructed like 8 cars like the previous day. And so that night, they worked on getting out. I think they got like 12 or whatever. And they took the chalk, they erased the last thing, and they wrote the number 12. And then it went on and on like that. And the competition between the two groups spurred both of them to work better than they would have on their own or with just motivational speeches or whatever. There's tons and tons and tons of different ways, of different tidbits of advice in here for just interacting with people. This is a really good book. If I had to suggest one more book, and this is coming from somebody that very, very rarely reads, I very, very, very rarely read. So you can find better recommendations probably than what I can give. I highly recommend. In my opinion, this was one of the most important books. Like, I still try to keep in mind shit from this book when I edit down, like, blog posts and shit. Oh my fucking God. If you read this book and you take it to heart, your college professors will fucking love you, okay? This is such an amazing fucking book, okay? So, this is where, like... this is the kind of book where you might have like 2 or 3 sentences and you're trying to think like, okay, well, this is kind of confusing. Well, maybe if I use like a participial phrase here, or maybe if I, like, do I really want, the commas here, blah, 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 blah. Like, this is the kind of book where if you have these problems and you read this book, like the book will tell you, read the fucking sentences out loud. Okay, you can probably get rid of half of the words and be twice as clear, right? This is like one of the best, like, common sense approaches to reading. Like, this is the kind of book where, like, if you're debating on whether or not to use like an Oxford comma or something, and the meaning of your sentence isn't very clear, with or without the comma, it changes it a lot, then they would be like, then your sentence is probably fucking bad. Throw the sentence out and make it work so that it's very clear and concise. Like, this is a really, really, really sick book for writing. For really writing papers. This is a really sick book. Yeah, really, 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 really dank shit. Okay, all right, we're done. I'm sorry, jerking off these are just the things that I've wrote or read. These are like my favorite 2 things, but okay. Kill yourself, Apollos.
Conservative view, but I can tell you one thing. I'm more conservative than anybody on the military, on taking care of our vets, on the border, on the wall, on getting rid of Obamacare and coming up with something much, much better, and certainly getting rid of Common Core and bringing education to a local level so that you're going to have good education for our children who are being absolutely starved for proper education. So, Sarah, I mean, you can call it what you want, but I am a truth teller, and I will tell the truth, okay? Yeah, go ahead, finish it. Go ahead. I feel awfully good. I mean, I'm watching your people. I'm watching your people.
I think she asked, how do you feel about winning?
And I'm going to be very nice. I'm going to be very nice. I'm watching your people on CNN, and I'm watching the Fox people, and I'm watching the MSNBC people, too. Okay, see, I'm becoming diplomatic.
That was a good joke, right? And that's a joke right? To alleviate the concerns of, is Trump going to go into the general election, guns blazing like a fucking lunatic, and he's going to throw away the entire nomination. He's going to throw away the entire nomination being fucking crazy. That was a really, really, really smart joke. It was a really good joke. I mean, it was a really good setup too. I'm watching the media. I'm watching Fox News. I'm watching CNN. I'm even watching MSNBC. I know how you people look at me. I know how you take it. And look, I'm becoming a little bit more diplomatic, right? That little tongue in cheek. Oh my God. This speech was so fucking good, right? This speech was so good. This speech was so fucking good.
And they are certainly being very nice to me tonight. I mean, you know, they're being very strong. And they are. They're declaring Marco Rubio the big loser of the night, which is true. He didn't win anything. He hasn't won anything, period. And by the way, and I have to tell you, and he was very, very nasty. I've never heard a person get up and speak on an evening like this and be so nasty, but he's got a right to be nasty. He hasn't won anything, and he's not going to win very much. But I do congratulate Ted, because I know how hard Ted worked on Texas, and that's a big get. Now, I also did very well in Texas. I came
Just giving these huge props to Ted Cruz makes him sound so good too. Holy shit.
second. No, it's not.
Oh, she's asking about the taking extreme positions just to move towards the middle. Is what she just asked again. Well, kind of. The last guy, I guess, didn't exactly ask that, but.
Would you allow them to stay in the country without having to leave the country?
At this moment, absolutely not. No.
A question about illegal immigration.
We either have a country or we don't. We have a country or we don't. We have borders or we don't have borders. And at this moment, the answer is absolutely not.
Looking at the way the delegates are dished out, if Ted Cruz would have been from any other state, the election is over already. The only reason Cruz is as close to Trump as he is because his home state is Texas, and he was able to get the win there. If he wasn't from Texas, the race is already over. As it stands right now, the race is pretty much already over. The only possible way that that changes is if everybody drops out and throws their weight behind either Cruz or Rubio. It's just the only possible way. And once Trump locks up the Republican nomination, which I feel he already has, I think he's going to annihilate Hillary in the general election. Would Trump be able to run as an independent? No, Trump won't run as an independent. Trump is not only going to run. Oh my God, this is like so stupid, because 2 months ago, I would have never said this. Not only is Trump going to run as a Republican, but Trump, the guy who made fun of a war vet, the guy who said he would run as an independent if he didn't win the nomination, which is like blasphemy. It is. The guy that has spit in the face of the establishment and the Republican National Convention time and time and time again, he is going to run in the general election as a Republican, and he's going to do it with the full blessing and backing of the Republican Party, because it's the only option. That's exactly how things are going to play out. There is no, again, I'll say it for like the fifth time, there is no possible way that the Republican Party can turn away Trump. You can't do it. You can't mess with the delegates. You just can't do it, because it would be the destruction of the Republican Party. He will run on the Republican ticket, and he's going to do it with the full backing and blessing of the Republican Party. That's exactly how it's going to go.
We want Trump! We want Trump! Mr. Donald J. Trump.
And it is my honor to be able to throw Donald Trump over the top in the delegate count tonight with 89 delegates.
Today has been a very, very special day. Watching my children put me over the top earlier. The party seal, I mean, what we did getting the party's nomination, I'll never forget it. It's something I will never, ever forget.
Hillary? No, he won't. I don't think Trump will throw for Hillary. I think Trump wants to be the president of the United States. Trump, just think about that for a moment. And again, I guess I can speak with barely perspective on this, but not even, right? Because I'm nowhere near the level of Trump. When you get to a certain point in generating money, eventually it's not just about the money anymore. It's about the power, right? And I don't say that in like a power corrupts, always. But I mean, for Trump, Trump is as rich as he'll ever be. Whether he makes, a few $100 million or even $1 billion or more or less or whatever, doesn't really, it's whatever. Now, becoming the president of the United States, okay, being a billionaire is already a huge fucking, a fucking billionaire. You're one of the top 0.000000001% of the people on the planet. That's amazing, right? But to be the president of the United States on top of that, would arguably make Trump one of the most successful people in all the history of the world, right? The history of the entire world. Do you understand that? Of all of history will will speak of Trump, right? It's crazy. For him to give that up to Hillary, I don't think so. There's no chance. There's no way that he ever intentionally throws. There's no way that he ever intentionally throws that. Is he really rich? I keep getting told he's not nearly as rich as he says he is. Other people have estimated that his actual net worth is probably closer to like 3 or 4 billion and not 10 billion. But if you're a billionaire, I mean, like, that's a lot of fucking money. That's a lot of money. Can you explain what happened? I thought Trump was an idiot everyone hated. No, Trump has always been popular. What happens if Hillary gets arrested for the email shit after she... It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter what happens with Hillary because Hillary will never beat Trump in the general election. Again, I think... we've already talked about this many times, but I just don't think... I don't think there's any reality where Hillary can even hold a... I think that when the general election comes, and I think that the 2 speeches given tonight are very clear of that. When general election time comes, I think that Trump will absolutely destroy Hillary. She'll be annihilated. And that's even if the email shit doesn't fuck her first. I don't know if it will or not, but do you think Sanders can beat Trump? Sanders might be able to, just because Sanders and Trump share a similar discontent with the current establishment of politics, because Sanders can really channel that anti-establishment feeling, whereas Hillary can a lot. I think that there are a lot of Hillary supporters that would vote for Bernie if Hillary didn't get the nomination. I think that there are a lot of Bernie supporters that would vote for Trump if Hillary didn't get the nomination. President Donald Trump. I mean, it sounds like I'm posturing, but I'll bet you any amount of money. There is just no possible way that Hillary ever beats... There's just no way that Hillary beats Trump in the general. It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. Trump also has a lot of things pulling him back. He really doesn't, though. Trump doesn't have anything pulling him back. Right? Trump is untouchable. He's invincible. He just can't. There's nothing that you can say or do to Trump to slow him down. We can wait till we get to the general election, and you can point to this VOD and laugh at me if I'm wrong, but I really don't see... Hillary is just so bad at campaigning. She's just really, really bad at it. And Trump is doing surprisingly well with the minority vote. I guess we'll see what happens, but... Right now, like at this point in time, I lean like 85. To be conservative, I would say like 85-50 in favor of Trump, if not like 95-5. I think that the email shit is just gonna destroy Hillary. Do you want to explain why minorities don't like Bernie as much as Hillary? It just seems weird to me. The guy literally fought for them in the civil rights movement. Bernie is old and white, and Hillary Clinton is married to the first black president, fucking Bill Clinton. So. I mean, I don't know. The Clintons have always been big. The Clintons have just always been really, really big on the minority vote. And when you look at the grassroots shit that's going on for Bernie Sanders, a lot of that seems to be like young college white kids, which doesn't translate too well to minority voters. So, have you really lost all hope? I don't know, dude. We'll see.
She's not going to straighten it out in the next 4 years. It's just going to become worse and worse.
So, remember to hit that like and subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell so that my videos show up right in your feed. Rubio has less than 0% chance. Well, a point, whatever the chances are of Rubio hiring an assassin